And we're able to fulfill that demand because the people on the front lines of our manufacturing at General Mills, as well as healthcare workers and law enforcement, are doing the jobs that they need to do. And so we're very proud of the work that we're doing, and we're living our company mission of making food the world loves. Right now, it's making the food the world needs, and that includes breakfast cereal here in the U.S. But not only, we see increased demand for food at home in places like China as well as Europe, and a decrease in food demand away from home in those markets as well.
Since you mentioned China, what are you seeing there right now as the country comes back online and back to work? Does it mean they're eating out more at restaurants at the expense of some of those grocery products?
Well, I'm really proud of what we've been able to do. General Mills has been able to do in China. Our sales at home have been increasing double digits over the last couple of months since the pandemic started there. And we saw our Haagen-Dazs shops business down about 90%, with 90% of our stores closed in February. What I can tell you is, and for those of you listening, there is another side of this. And for us, that really is 90% of our shops are back open, and traffic is still down. It's down 50%. But I think it's a good sign that stores have reopened and that consumers are starting to come back. And I think that bodes well for us here in the U.S. and for the people in Europe as well.
Jeff, it does. It's good to hear. But meantime, back to the U.S., what are you seeing people buy? I mean, you mentioned Haagen-Dazs and Sarah mentioned cereals. Is it more items that people are stocking up for having to be at home for a long time? Or is it things like ice cream, the kind of indulgent goods to get them through it?
Well, what we saw at the beginning is a little bit different than we see today. About 4 weeks ago, we saw people stocking up on items and stocking up at specific outlets. What we're seeing now, as I would say, is more steady increased demand for items across the store. So we see increases in our business, not only in our soup business, but also in things like cereal and yogurt and baking mixes. And so what was once a stock-up trip at a few locations has really turned into something more systemic demand in food at home. Across different formats in the grocery store, as well as our own portfolio.
Jeff, at what point, the longer this crisis goes on, or the more cities perhaps that get locked down across the U.S., at what point do you worry about meeting demand, about production and delivery that can actually keep up? And do we have to worry about food shortages at any point in this country?
Well, we certainly haven't seen that yet, and I don't anticipate it. And I think it's due to the great work the people have done, not only at General Mills and our manufacturing plants and logistics plants, but also the way we partnered with our partners in grocery stores to keep shelves stocked. I think it's really interesting. In some ways, you see film, you think maybe this pandemic brings out the worst in people. I've seen the opposite. I think it's brought out the best in General Mills and the way we go to market. It's brought out the best in how we partner with retailers. We've been able to fulfill more than 90% of our orders so far. And that's because we have 95% of our employees showing up to work every day. And we've made that possible through some policies we put in place to reward people when they show up, but also importantly, to provide policies we put in place to make sure that if they're sick, they stay at home, or if their children are at home, they need to take care of them, that they're able to do that as well. So what we see is the food supply chain in the U.S. has been just remarkable. And it's been true of General Mills, but true for our competitors as well throughout the whole food chain. And so we are confident that we can continue to supply the U.S. and the world with food.
Jeff, how confident are you in food safety here in the U.S. that it's not in any way spreading the virus?
We're highly confident that we're not spreading the virus and that our food is safe. And the FDA's weighed in on this, and you can check out their websites. They are the experts, but we've taken a lot of precautions to make sure that the food is safe and that the people who are making the food are safe. And so we feel very good about the safety of our food supply.
Wanted to ask you about pet food. I know you made a huge acquisition, Blue Buffalo, and that's been a fast-growing brand. What are people doing there? Are they also hoarding and stocking up?
Well, people love all the members of the family, including furry members of the family. And Blue Buffalo was growing at 11% before this epidemic broke out. And we're seeing still high demand for pet food. And people take care of their pets just like they do their children and other members of the family. And I'm really proud of the Blue Buffalo family at General Mills, the herd we call them. And the herd is doing great work. And we see good demand for pet food.
Oh, Sarah has frozen briefly again. We will leave it there. Jeff, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.